I don't know if I've even talked about this before. When I was 16, working at a fast food place, Burger King, as a matter of fact, it's the truth. There shouldn't be any libel there. It wasn't their fault that three men came in there shortly before we closed and robbed us at gunpoint. And I was on the cash register, and the guy jumped over the counter. It was so quick. Two went in the back where a couple of guys were cooking. One jumped over the counter. I remember a big silver gun in my face as I told the police when they asked me to describe him, and he wanted the money from the register. And this was when they would put safes in obvious places. He wanted money from there, and I was terrified. I was terrified. There had been a string of robberies of fast food places, and I knew that someone had been shot. I don't recall if they were killed or not in one of those incidents. And I can't say that I ever really got over that, but I learned to cope. I learned to move forward and to trust people again and to not be alarmed every time someone reached into their jacket or made an abrupt movement. I sort of had a little bit of PTSD. I had that. I've been in car wrecks. I've had more surgeries than that operation game that you play. And I'm still here. I just, thank goodness I have a great support network. I have family and I have friends, and I always had something to look forward to. And now I don't so much. I have to work on having something to look forward to. I'm supposed to be in DC right now at my sorority's 100-year anniversary, our boule, our centennial boule. Thousands of women from all over the world would have been there, from graduate and undergraduate chapters, and things keep popping up on my calendar. I live very much by my calendar and a schedule. It keeps me focused. It keeps me productive. And every time one pops up, it just, oh man, I just get this sinking feeling that that I'm not there, that we're not there, that we're not together. And on my calendar is nothing, nothing. Work. I like work, but in balance with work enabling me to do things, to be involved in the community, to volunteer, to go to church, to travel. I just saw my parents last weekend after 5 months of not seeing them. And it was great, but it wasn't enough time. It just wasn't enough time. So with them, because what I have is a lot of time on my hands, and time is heavy. Who knew? Time is heavy. And what I'm doing to help me with that weight is what I want to talk about today, is how to feel the emptiness. The emptiness in your schedule, the emptiness in your heart if you're not able to be with loved ones. There's a hole, there's a thing in your spirit that cannot be filled ever by Zoom and Google Meet, as great as they are. The emptiness in your ability to do for others, that is something for many of us that gives us great pleasure, even just to do your hobbies. There's an emptiness. There's a lot of time. And what I'm trying to do, what I've tried to do in every period of crisis, depression, downtime, post-traumatic time after the loss of a loved one, change of careers. I'm still in dentistry, but I've changed career track. That was scary. Just entering into a new dimension of your life, however that may be coming, because of a change of health, a change of location, a change of priorities. Sometimes things happen that make us change, and it's scary. I'm great at tackling those things that I feel like I can do something about. I am intrepid when it comes to that. This haircut, for example, if you look at other pictures of me, my hair's been growing for 8 years. When it was flat ironed, it was down my back, but I felt like I needed to do something new. If it didn't work out, if the color wasn't right, I could undo it. I could redo it. But relationships coming out of this period better than we went into it, jobs, things like that, it's a little scary to think about how a change, say for example in a relationship with your children or with your spouse, now that you're home so much with your wife and kids and learning things about each other that you didn't know and maybe didn't want to know, and to think about the eternal unending impact emotionally and spiritually that change can have. It is scary. Hair grows back. Hurt. You cannot unhurt someone. You can't take pain away. You can only try to put new, better memories in its place. And so I'm taking up the emptiness. And these are things you might want to try. You might not. You might just want to continue watching Netflix. I love Netflix, but I am Netflixed out. So I have come up with projects, with things that have been on my list for a while that I intend to accomplish. During the initial spike, I got some things done, and now we've got a new spike here in Texas. We're being asked to shelter in place and wear our masks. So I am focusing on what I can do. There are some things I cannot do anything about. I am not going to sit up and watch the news morning, evening, and night, hearing about things I can't impact, that I can't change, that just make me sad. I want to be up on what's going on, but I am not inundating myself with sad, negative information, morning news and night. I can't, because it's having an impact on me. I am focusing on what I'm good at. I went out twice. The few times I've been out doing things, I went out twice and protested. One of those protests was a 3-mile walk. Oh, it's hot in here. One of those was a 3-mile walk in Grand Prairie from the high school to City Hall. And it was hot. It was in the 90s. We were on concrete. And I realized that's not something I'm good at, is marching. I can protest. I'm going to have to meet them next time when we get to City Hall, because I feel very strongly about what we were marching about, which is why I was willing to take that risk. And please understand that these people out here with masks on are taking a calculated, known risk because they feel so strongly about what we're protesting about. But that's not something I'm good at. So I can sign petitions. I can talk about this issue. I can write about it. A number of people have approached me asking for resources. How can I become an ally? Information, empowerment, that's something I'm good at. So I'm going to be really, really good in my lane, pivot my focus, but I'm going to stay in my lane and work my strengths toward this new problem, this crisis, and be helpful in that way and not be frustrated. And then I'm going to focus on who I'm good with. This has been a revealing time in understanding who needs to be part of my life going forward and who does not. And that doesn't mean they're bad people or I'm bad people, but again, we're seeing some different attitudes, impressions. We're having some difficult conversations, and it's not that necessarily people have to agree with me, but I need to be in relationships with people who are able to dialogue maturely. I haven't always been able to do that. I had to learn that skill, to hear someone else's point of view and to speak calmly and as eloquently as possible And you would think I'd be good at that. I did take debate at one point. I don't know why I hated debate. But there are some people who just are not prepared for growth. I've grown. I've had my mind changed. I've learned some things. I hated Juneteenth, for example. I didn't think that was anything to celebrate at all. And then I found out that the battle went on until 1865. Texas was still fighting. That's why they didn't find out. It wasn't that someone was being, lazy about getting the news to them. So that was last week. I thought I knew all about Juneteenth. Never cared for the idea that for 2.5 years, from the Emancipation Proclamation, the slaves in Texas were not told that they were free. Well, they were not free per the way the Declaration of Independence was written. I need to do something on that. But I'm growing. I am growing. I am pro some things that I never thought I'd be for. I am con some things that I thought a lifelong affinity to. And I like being around people that are open to growth, open to the possibility that they can learn something. And I've realized that there's some people who I thought were like that who are not. And I don't hate them, but we're parting ways. Sometimes you have to let people go. You have to let things go. You have to let ideas go in order to move forward. The inability to change your mind is not a superpower. That's not how we grow, at least not in my opinion. And with that focus on what I can do and not things beyond my control, what I'm good at and how I can use my skills and my blessings and my resources to help others, to solve problems, to challenge issues, to cope with this crisis, and who I'm good with, who I can be allies with, who I can be on the same team with, who can encourage and motivate and teach me. And likewise, I am getting through my fears. I am getting through this time. I am determined that I will come out of this COVID-19 period alive and well and better for the effort of surviving this pandemic, this crisis of consciousness, this time alone, this unending time alone, to reflect on me, not what everybody is doing wrong, not what's wrong with what they posted on social media, not people on reality TV, but how can I make me better? How can my home life be better? How can my relationships be better? How can this situation be improved by my presence? And I'm still scared. I'd be lying if I didn't admit that. But I'm more afraid of not trying. I'm more afraid of staying in that bed and not getting up again than I am of pushing myself beyond that moment of not wanting to be an adult and trying and trying and trying again. So I wish you the best. I'm going to say just immerse yourself in positive things and positive people, and know that fear is normal. Paralyzing fear is not healthy, but fear is normal. Use it to propel yourself forward. Successful people are afraid and they get it done anyway. I'm Dr. Mo Anderson. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to hear more, click like or subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Dr. Mo Anderson and Perpetual Motion.